How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going into detail on wheel bearing type noises that you may have in your vehicle. This is something that is so common and is also misdiagnosed multiple times as well. So I'm going to be breaking down my knowledge on how you can isolate the fault, some of the tips you can use to diagnose the fault, and a real simple approach to be able to more accurately find and then fix these items. Okay, so I'm going to be breaking this video down into a few different sections, trying to simplify it as much as I can, also sharing information as quickly as I can so you'll be able to diagnose this fault yourself. First, I'm going to be describing how the noise presents, as some of the ways the customers describe it while they're driving their vehicles. The second is going to be the testing methods, how we're going to accurately pinpoint and isolate the noise down we're on a road test. And lastly is going to be the inspection. So when we get hands-on back in the workshop, we have the information for the test drive, so we're able to use that by easily and accurately diagnosing the fault. So first thing is how the customers describe it and how the noise typically sounds. I've heard it described as whirring, groaning, whining, and humming. I've heard it described as all of those noises. So what I'm going to do at the very start of this video is just share with you some of the wheel bearing noises that I've captured, so you can have a good indication of the type of noise before we jump into the testing methods. Now that you've heard that noise, it's time to do the road test. The road test is extremely important to be able to isolate down, is it the front, is it the back, is it the left, is it the right, is it a bearing type noise at all? And how we do it is the following. You want to be able to pinpoint down the noise firstly by speed increments. So what that means is, as you take off, you need to listen for the noise, find out what speed it comes in at, and does it go out or does it consistently increase as you're driving along. And the information that can give you when you go back to testing it in the workshop is, if the noise is only coming in at very high speed, it's not going to be easily replicated when you get back to the shop. So if it comes in at very low speed, it's highly likely you're going to be able to replicate that in the workshop. Listen for the noise, watch the speedometer and check to see if it's coming in at 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour, for example, and if that's increasing as you're going up to the higher speeds. Is the noise getting louder? If it is, that is quite consistent with how a bearing would typically present. The next one is the load. So when you're driving in a straight line, the noise should be just there all of the time. But as you're turning left and right, as you're going off a roundabout or turning a corner, for example, does the noise disappear? Does the noise disappear when you turn left? Does the noise disappear when you turn right? That information that you're getting is sharing whether it's left-hand side or right-hand side, because the noise will always disappear as the load is taken off that wheel. So if you're turning a sharp corner and all the weight is on one side, as that other wheel lifts up, does the noise disappear or does it eliminate down? Does it reduce considerably in what you're hearing? If it does, you've already isolated down. You really want to focus on the road test as well and try and pinpoint front to rear. This is the ones that technicians, apprentices miss all of the time. They can't decipher whether it's the front or the back, left or right. So you want to be able to try and isolate it down. Stay focused as you're listening and see if it's rear, if it's the front. Is it the left? Is it the right? Now, on that test drive, if we're not able to reduce the noise at all, is it central? Is it a central type noise? If it's a central type noise, a wheel bearing or tires is another one that can cause noises, can be eliminated. If you're not able to get rid of the noise, and if the noise is happening at very low speeds all the way through and is extremely loud, it could be a transfer case, it could be the transmission, it could be a differential, it could be a carrier bearing. All of these items are very common for that way of presenting. And I'll share with you a clip on a transfer case as it comes in at lower speed, but the real loud droning you can hear, and it was very central in the cabin when I was road testing. Now that we have the road test completed, we can bring it back to the workshop, use all that information that we collected on the road test to help easily pinpoint down on the inspection what the fault is. For example, it's the left-hand front wheel that we have found the issue in. We bring it in, we put it up on the hoist, we take the weight off the vehicle, and then we start to do our checks. Always remember it's a rotational type noise. So you're not going to be looking for any stationary components that's going to replicate this noise. It's going to have to be a moving part, and it's going to have to be consistently rotating over to cause this noise. So always have that to the forefront of your mind when doing these checks. The first thing is grab the wheel at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, rock it back and over. Grab it at 12 and 6 and rock it back and over. We're checking for free play to see if the wheel bearing is mechanically failing. So rocking it that way, rocking it that way will give you an idea as if there's free play. If there is free play there, you've already found it. There may not be. The next check is to rotate the wheel over and have your hand on the tire as you move it. That will showcase any imperfections in the tire, which can also cause nearly an identical bearing type noise. As you're seeing in these images here, these tires came in with a symptom of a wheel bearing, and I have seen so many different people misdiagnose wheel bearing noises based on tires. If you have scalloping, if you have separation of the tire, if you have a roughness in the thread, if you have a bubble in the tire or it's completely delaminating, old age tires in particular do this, you can have that type of noise. One of the ways you can easily confirm that if you're still uncertain is if the noise is at the front or let's say the rear, rotate the tires and go for a road test again. It's as simple as that. If you switch the tires front to back, left to right, you will be able to eliminate that noise from the corner that you suspected, and it should follow. And that is a simple and quick check you can do. The next check you do is spin the wheel. So you catch the wheel and you rotate it over. If it only comes in at a higher speed, it is always a good guide to get somebody else to spin the wheel for you while you listen closely. If you can't hear anything at all, something you can always do is catch a hold of the coil spring as you rotate the wheel. The actual bearing, if it is causing the noise, will resonate through and you will feel it in your hand. So as you're spinning that wheel and holding on the coil spring or on the shock, you will feel it. You will absolutely feel that noise coming up through your hand. If you're uncertain, go to the other side of the vehicle, do the exact same thing. And if you feel the difference there, if you can feel it vibrate through your hand on one side and not on the other, again, you've isolated down, and you have found a fault. Some of the testing I do in the workshop can also be done with the vehicle driven while up in the air. I've used this to pinpoint down faults that can be very difficult to find otherwise. I've isolated down, I've confirmed transmission faults, I've confirmed differential faults, transfer case, etc. by having it in the air and then doing a replication with the load off the vehicle and listening. You can have a screwdriver, put it up to your ear and listen directly at the different points to see if it's central, is it along the tail shaft, is it at the rear towards the rear diff, etc. The considerations that you would have is it a two-wheel drive? Is it an automatic? Is it a manual? Is it a four-wheel drive? Is it an all-wheel drive? Is it a rear-wheel drive? And if you're able to determine that, you can kind of focus on those different components that are rotational to be able to help you find that fault. And that is it for this video. That is how I find, fix, and isolate these faults down so I can accurately diagnose them. If you use those methods as well, implement the test drive, isolate down, is it the front, is it the rear, is it central, is it left, is it right? If you're able to accurately do that, get it into the workshop, carry out your inspection thoroughly, you'll be able to find these faults as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.